Chapter 47. Phinehas. Numbers 25, 1-18. And Israel abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab. And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods, and the people did eat, and bowed down to their gods. And Israel joined himself unto Baal-peor, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel. And the Lord said unto Moses, Take all the heads of the people, and hang them up before the Lord against the sun, that the fierce anger of the Lord may be turned away from Israel. And Moses said unto the judges of Israel, Slay ye every one his men that were joined unto Baal-peor. And, behold, one of the children of Israel came and brought unto his brethren a Midianitish woman in the sight of Moses, and in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Israel, who were weeping before the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And when Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, saw it, he rose up from among the congregation, and took a javelin in his hand. And he went after the man of Israel unto the tent, and thrust both of them through, the man of Israel, and the woman through her belly. So the plague was stayed from the children of Israel. And those that died in the plague were 24,000. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, hath turned my wrath away from the children of Israel, while he was zealous for my sake among them, that I consumed not the children of Israel in my jealousy. Wherefore say, Behold, I give unto him my covenant of peace, and he shall have it, and his seed after him, even the covenant of an everlasting priesthood, because he was zealous for his God, and made an atonement for the children of Israel. Now the name of the Israelites that was slain, even that was slain with the Midianitish woman, was Zimri, the son of Salu, a prince of a chief house among the Simeonites. And the name of the Midianitish woman that was slain was Cosbi, the daughter of Zur. He was head over a people, and of a chief house in Midian. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Vex the Midianites, and smite them, for they vex you with their wiles, wherewith they have beguiled you in the matter of Peor, and in the matter of Cosbi, the daughter of a prince of Midian, their sister, which was slain in the day of the plague for Peor's sake. Numbers 25, 1-18. There are two references to this chapter in the New Testament, in 2 Peter 2:15, and especially in Revelation 2:14, where we are clearly told that Balaam was responsible for this event. He had apparently told the Midianites that their religious prostitution would be the means of destroying Israel, an enemy to both Balak and Moab, and to Midian as well. The religious communion services of Midian were full-scale feasts, followed by religious acts of fornication, whereby the people joined themselves to Baal-peor. In other words, we have here a fertility cult, and its open practice to which the Israelites were invited. Fertility cults were all naturalistic religions given to worshipping the life force, and commonly embodying it in a goddess, a female figure. The revived cult of Gaia is closely related to such a faith, and it involved the open practice of sexual acts, including, in many instances, deviant and bestial practices. For the men of Israel, this was an invitation to free sex, and they went after it greedily with little opposition until God, through Moses, ordered an intervention. The text is rather difficult at points, and perhaps Moffat's rendering of verses 4 and 5 will make it clear. And the Eternal bade Moses seize all the leaders of the people and execute them in broad daylight before the Eternal, in order to avert the Eternal's hot anger from Israel. So Moses told all the sheriffs to put to death throughout their jurisdictions the men who had attached themselves to the Baal of Peor. Because of their permissiveness, the tribal princes were all held to be responsible. Meanwhile, a plague was racing through Israel, and in verse 9 we are told that about 24,000 died in this epidemic. This is a rounded figure. In 1 Corinthians 10:8 we have a reference to this incident, and the rounded figure is given as 23,000. More importantly, we are told that they fell in one day. This is a fact that intrigues medical scholars, I am told, especially now in the time of the AIDS epidemic. This plague was apparently associated with the promiscuity and struck very rapidly, but was ignored by the Israelites in their eagerness for easy access to Midianite women. Many, of course, were distressed and were weeping at the door of the sanctuary, verse 6, perhaps mainly the Hebrew wives. Josephus wrote that Zimri expressed his contempt for Moses, called him a worse oppressor than Pharaoh, and said that Moses was trying to deprive them of the sweetness of life which consists in acting according to our own wills, and is the right of free men and of those who have no lord over them. He accused Moses of acting under pretense of laws and of God wickedly to impose on us slavery and gain dominion to thyself. These events occurred at Abel Shittim, a meadow of acacia trees and a pleasant setting. We are told that the Midianites called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods. A.R.S. Kennedy rendered, called as invited. The destruction of Israel was disguised as a friendly act. The purpose, as apparently designed by Balaam, was to subvert the people and to alienate them from God. Their long isolation in the wilderness made them especially susceptible to whatever plague the sexual promiscuity gave them, whereas the Midianites had apparently some high degree of tolerance to it. It is a grim fact that we are not told that Israel was at all concerned by the plague. This is clearly indicated by George Bush's commentary, in part on verse 3. Israel joined himself to Baal Peor. Hebrew was joined, coupled, or yoked. Vulgate. Israel was initiated to Baal Phegor. Greek. Israel was consecrated to Baal Phegor. Chaldean. Israel was conjoined to the worshippers of Baal Peor. Syriac and Arab. Israel cleaved closely to Baal Peor. In other words, Zimri's response to Moses, as given by Josephus, did reflect Israel's temperament. Here was a religion more to their liking than the God of Moses. People were dying even as they celebrated their freedom from God. The parallel to the AIDS epidemic is certainly there, whatever the nature of this plague. In this seduction of Israel, Midian and Moab worked together. In verses 1, 17 and 18 we see this clearly. Some scholars believe that the number 23,000 refers to those who died of the plague, whereas 24,000 is inclusive of those hung by Moses' orders. Robert A. Watson wrote of Balaam's strategy, "The moral law of Jehovah and the comparative purity of the Israelites as his people kept them separate from the other nations, gave them dignity and vigor. To break down this defense would make them like the rest, would withdraw them from the favor of their God, and even defeat his purposes. The scheme was one which only the vilest craft could have conceived, and it shows us too plainly the real character of Balaam. He must have known the power of the allurements which he now advised as the means of attack on those he could not touch with his maledictions, nor gain by his soothsaying. In the shadow of this scheme of his, we see the diviner and all his tribe and indeed the whole morality of the region, at their very worst. It is important to note that in fertility religions, all sexual acts, in some instances inclusive of perverse and bestial acts, were seen as good works. They ensured the fertility of the earth, the coming of rains and a good harvest. Nowadays, quote-unquote sanitized versions of fertility cult practices are performed for tourists by many peoples and tribes and are highly regarded by our new pagans. Sacred prostitution was a routine part of pagan cults in Canaan. It was a particularly well-developed aspect of that culture. However, other cultures have not lacked their temple prostitutes, as witness Hinduism. No other culture in the modern world has given them an equal status. In antiquity, a father would often dedicate a daughter to the temple for sacred prostitution. The same could be true of sons. In Deuteronomy 23, 17 and 18, there is a strict ban on any form of prostitution, sacred or profane, and the sodomite is called a dog, a term also used in Revelation 22:15. According to Deuteronomy 23, 17 and 18, there shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel. Thou shalt not bring the hire of a whore or the price of a dog into the house of the Lord thy God for any vow. For even both these are abomination unto the Lord thy God. The plague on Israel was stayed by Phinehas in what is called an act of atonement. Verse 13, a satisfaction for sin. It is important to understand that this was not a vigilante act. The order was given, verses 4 and 5, to hang all the leaders of the people who had led in and tolerated the fertility cult practices. Now, after this was done, Zimri, a son of Salu, a prince of a chief house of the Simeonites, verse 14, brazenly defied the authority of Moses. He brought a prominent Midianite woman, Cosbi, the daughter of Zur, a prince of Midian, into the camp. He did so openly, and the godly women of Israel wept at the sight. At this point, Phinehas, a high priestly official and probably one of those involved in the hanging of other guilty leaders, took a javelin and went into the tent where they were copulating. He drove his javelin through the bodies of both and killed them on the spot. God praises Phinehas for being as zealous of his honor as God himself is for his laws and honor. Verse 13. Since the New Testament describes Phinehas as a godly man, this poses a problem for those who try to place the Old Testament on a lower moral level. The aftermath of Phinehas' act was, first, that God stayed the plague. The contagions ended, as did the fertility cult practices. If any still agreed with Zimri, they kept quiet. Second, God promised to Phinehas and his posterity a covenant of peace. They would continue in his service and be blessed therein. Verses 11 to 13. Third, since a Midianite princess had been killed, war would follow, and God ordered Moses to take the initiative, which he did, although a full-scale war was delayed since Israel's manpower had been diminished by the plague. Apparently, as with AIDS thus far, men were the primary victims. Modern commentators such as James Philip have called Phinehas' act, and others like it in the Bible, acts of a brutal and barbarous nature. Are we to assume that the breakdown of civilization taking place under the leadership of our modernists represents civility and culture? Where are their condemnations of the pornography, abortion, euthanasia, crime and lawlessness of our time? Zimri was a Simeonite, and the Simeonite encampment was closest to Moab and most exposed to the Midianite temptation. The census in Numbers 26 shows that the Simeonites had the greatest loss in population. A comment by Gosman in Lange's commentary is pertinent here. The history shows that the curse causeless never comes. God's people are safe from the curse unless they bring it upon themselves. They never experience it unless they have practically renounced God and His law. The floodgates are open then, and nothing but a vindicated divine right will stem the tide. The curse causeless never comes, but our age has invited God's curse and needs to repent.